There's been a lot of talk this week, Frank. I'm sure you know that I'm going to ask you about it. What's going on? Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. We've got no fights at the minute, but it seems like there seems to be more negotiating now, or apparent negotiations, than ever.
Well, I'll keep reading all this stuff. The bottom line is this. It's really simple. They're both, Tyson and Deontay Wilder, contracted for their third fight. That's a fact. That's where we are at the moment. There's been offers made from various, I don't know if they're going to any names, but various countries and organisations to host a fight between Tyson and Anthony Joshua. One of these entities, one of these countries, we've signed an NDA with them, non-disclosure agreement, so I can't go into it. When I say me, I've done it myself. MTK, who's involved in his management, done that on behalf of Top Rank and our side, so it's our three parties. And I know that Matchroom has signed an NDA as well. So that's where we are, but nothing is in writing. There's been no offers made. Nothing's been happening at the moment, except for one country has made an offer which we're considering. But as regarding anything concrete, nothing at all yet.
With
commitment that's got to be dealt with.
That's just where I was going to come on to next. Deontay Wilder obviously has his right, and he has invoked the Trilogy fight, his right to win back his world title. Can you see a scenario in which he is willing to step aside?
I don't know at the moment. You know, it's all about money at the end of the day. If that were to happen, I speak to Shelley Finkel, who's his manager, every other day. Shelley's a friend. We've not even had that conversation yet. So it's not a conversation that's even been had yet. And as I say, it's all about, when and where we can put any of these fights together. At the moment, there's nothing. But as I say, it is behind the scenes. There are, as I say, offers being prepared and an offer being made. And then it'll be up to all the parties to consider. Everybody's got to agree. That means if it was to go straight to a Joshua fight, then it would have to be Matchroom agree. Starting from it would have to be the two fighters obviously agreeing. Matchroom, Queensbury, top rank, MTK would all have to agree. If there was to be a step aside, then Shelley would have to agree. Bob Arum would have to agree regarding Pulev. So there's all facets to this. So at the moment, the truth of the situation, there is nothing. There's nothing to report yet. All there is are talks about trying to put something together, and we'll see what the offer's going to be. Then once that's there, then we can start negotiating.
So stories from, for example, The Athletic, who came out and said that there were negotiations going on between MTK on behalf of Top Rank and Matchroom. Are they false?
Well, what's happening is our side of the table is Top Rank, MTK, and Queensbury. So each of us has got a designated role in what we're doing. So I've got no relationship with Matchroom, so that's being dealt with via MTK's representative. So they're talking to him. Regarding a couple of the venues, I'm talking to a couple of the countries, I'm talking to them. Regarding some of the other situations as to putting promotion on, Bob Arum's dealing with it, but we're all at one. The three of us are all on the same page. So no one's going to doing any backdooring. There's going to be no trying to drive wedges. We're all as one dealing with this. And to get this over the line, if we're going to get it over the line, everybody has to agree. It's not down to one person. That's how it is. It'll be for all of us to agree to the situation. And more importantly, for the fighters to agree, because they're the guys getting in the ring.
You mentioned your relationship, or lack of relationship, so to speak, with Matchroom. I actually saw something that Eddie Hearn did with TalkSport recently earlier in the week. He talked about a chance meeting between you two, Frank. I've never heard this story before. I don't know if you saw it.
Oh, yeah.
He said he saw you and had a wink at you or something?
Well, let me just tell you something. I actually do remember standing at the outside a restaurant in the West End, on a telephone, and he walked along. past me, but he sort of seemed to go further and further across the pavement as he walked past. He didn't wink at me, that's for sure. There was no winking. I mean, I know he's got a reputation of being a winker, but there certainly was not a wink towards me.
This stuff between you and Eddie, Frank. I mean, as fans of the sport, a lot of fans of the sport do enjoy your little your back and forths and stuff. But when it comes to making these multi-million-dollar fights, surely it's not the best starting point for negotiations.
Well, I've made Andrade and Billy Joe Saunders with them. I've made quite over the years a few fights. They never made a fight with us, by the way. We made fights with them, so that's not true at all. And we won purse bids when their fighters have been involved and so forth. But you know, look, I'll do what I do the best I can for the fighter that I represent, and I'll do the best for the TV channel that I represent, which is BT. You know, we invest heavily in these guys' careers. But at the end of the day, as I say, we've got to do the right thing by everybody concerned. You know, for example, if this Wilder fight, if you know Tyson fights Wilder or not, if he fights him, gets it out of the way, we can get that fight on with Joshua. I've said this for how many years now? It's got to be a good 2 years. It's the most easiest fight in the world to make. You know why? Here's the money that's on offer from whoever's going to put up the money as a host. Cut it in half, it's 50-50. And that's it. You haven't got to be an Einstein to do that, have you? It's very simple. It's simplistic. It's very simplistic. The situation regarding which TV companies carry it, you know, as far as the UK is concerned, I don't see any different as what happened with, with Tyson and Deontay Wilder, who come from separate TV channels in the States. One was on ESPN, the other one was on Fox, and they both broadcast the fight. So BT, Sky can do the same thing here. There shouldn't be obstacles to stop it from happening. The objective is to make it happen. Unless one of the fighters don't want it, or one of the promoters don't want it, and they just pay lip service. From our perspective, me as a promoter, I want to see Tyson, and I certainly speak for Bob Arum, and I speak for MTK. I know that. I'm saying we desperately want to see the fight with Anthony Joshua whenever it's going to happen, because it's a great fight for Britain, and why wouldn't we want to see that happen? And more importantly, Tyson wants it. Tyson wants the fight. So if it doesn't happen, the only reason it wouldn't happen is because the other side is saying they want it to happen, but privately don't want it to be the case. So we'll see.
Of course, you mentioned Bob Arum and Top Rank. They control another card in the deck, as it were, with Kubrat Pulev, who's obviously supposed to be fighting Anthony Joshua. Have you had any indication from Arum or Top Rank as to whether or not Pulev would be certainly receptive to having a step-aside offer?
Well, Bob's very pragmatic, and he'll deal with whatever we've got, whatever cards we've got to play with. At the moment, there aren't any cards. At the moment, the situation is that Joshua's got to fight Pulev, and we got to do the rematch. Tyson's got to do the rematch with Wilder. That's where we are. Whether that changes, we don't know. One thing for sure, it's not going to go on behind closed doors. It's not that sort of thing you can do. It needs to generate income. And until we know what's happening in the States, because as far as Deontay and Tyson's concerned, the fight has to take place in the States. Bob was talking about trying to get it on in October, and that's at the moment is where we're at. Unless something comes out of left field to change that.
Are there any, this is just morbid curiosity, are there any contractual timescales? Is there any kind of deadlines that have to be adhered to make that third fight?
Well, the contracts have a confidentiality clause, so I can't really discuss that.
Oh, come on, Frank.
A confidentiality clause is a legal clause. So if I start talking about what's in the contract, I'm in breach of the contract.
Okay. Doesn't it feel strange, Frank, that we're about 10 weeks away, or 10 weeks removed from Wilder Fury 2. How long ago does that feel?
Feels like it's 100 years ago now, doesn't it? I mean, time's going so slow at the moment, and every day blends into another. It's a great shame, because we should be rejoicing the fact that Britain's got the best heavyweight in the world in Tyson Fury, and we were just about to put on the best fight between the two best up-and-coming fighters in Daniel Dubois and Joe Joyce. So I'm quite annoyed about that, but it is what it is. No good being annoyed. We just got to get on with it and deal with it as the cards fall. And hopefully next Thursday we'll get some guidance from the government as to what will be allowed and what will not be allowed. Will not be able to do.
You mentioned the about Bob having potentially earmarked October as a possible kind of date for Wilder Fury 3. Is that again just kind of not lip service, but at the minute is that just kind of an educated guess?
I think we're all at the moment. We're all in the dark. No one knows. No one can tell you when a restaurant's going to open. No one can tell you when the barber shop, which I need to get down to, is going to open. No one can tell you any of these things because no one knows. When this all started out a few weeks ago, what was it, 5 weeks ago? How long ago? 6 weeks ago. It was, it's going to take 3 months to get over it. So everything's going to go be shut down for 3 months, and then we're going to be up and running. So we all planned around that, but we don't know if that's still going to be the case, and we'll find out next week. It looks to me like it's going to go on longer, and if it does go on longer, we're in a position that, as I say, that we're just going to have to deal with it, and we can't make any plans. I think when Bob talked about putting it on October, that was the intention, and maybe that still is the intention that we can do that. But it depends what happened in Vegas. They've shut Vegas down completely. That's where it's contracted. One thing is contracted to do, which is not a breach in saying it's contracted to go on in the States, and Vegas is the obviously natural venue for it to happen. But will Vegas be open? Will people travel still? Will people travel from the UK to Vegas? I've got no idea at the moment. Who knows what the implications are? At the moment, you can't even travel from here to the States. So lots of things have got to change, and we will see. We will see what happens.
With that, Frank, again, just kind of out of curiosity, is it? I know it was New York, LA, and Vegas were the 3 cities that were to be picked for the third fight. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. If none of those are available, because obviously America are kind of still in their peak, really, of the pandemic. If none of them are available, would there be an opportunity or a possibility for both sides to pick a neutral venue, potentially a less affected country?
Well, I mean, that's something we've got to discuss and look at. I mean, who knows? I mean, we don't know. Each country's got a different scenario going on at the moment. I mean, there's no live events, no live sport events going on anywhere as such at the moment in the Western world, is there at all? So it depends, again, if we could do that. I'm sure it's something we consider, but at the moment, I couldn't even tell you. I mean, everything's open. I'm sure something's going to come out left field that may change everything, but at the moment, I don't have a single answer. All we can do is speculate and try and be positive. But our positivity is just naturally within us. We're promoters, we're optimists, we're not pessimists. That's what we want. We want it to happen. But to be honest, who knows?
Tyson hasn't done an awful lot since the fight, as in, as far as interviews goes. He's obviously been doing his Keep Fit morning sessions, which I hope you've been following, Frank.
Well, look, I've been involved in them.
But he did come out and do an interview a couple of days ago, and he spoke about wanting to potentially fight until he's 40. He told Mark Kriegel from ESPN. Now, last time I heard Tyson talk, he said he might only have 2 more fights. So him saying he's going to fight until he's 40 was music to my ears. That's good to hear, Frank, in this time of not so good news.
Look, for me, whatever Tyson wants to do, we're with him. If he wants to retire tomorrow, he's going to retire. If he wants to fight till he's 40, we'll be there supporting him. Providing he's 100% and ready to go. But I've always said there's no miles on the clock with him at all. It's not like he's been in. I mean, he's been in tough fights, but it's not like he's been on the other side of a terrible beating or anything. I mean, he's not been in a fight. I mean, you look at Deontay Wilder and him in the last fight. He's not been on the end of something like that. So there's no, he's not. He wasn't for a long time a very active fighter. Most of his active he's been is since he come back. His comeback fights, but whatever he wants to do, we do. And as I say, we're supporting him. He's I don't want to see boxing lose him. He's the most. He's the biggest personality out there, isn't he? Because no one's got a bigger personality in boxing than Tyson Fury. No one.
The reason I ask it now is I spoke to Andy Lee probably a week or two after the fight. I flew over to Dublin to interview him. Obviously, he was involved in the training team, and he said that a couple more fights, then he would have achieved what he needs to achieve. He might come back and fight whoever the man is, whether it's a Dubois by that age or that time. But he said that he felt that Tyson would have achieved everything he needs to achieve if he beats an Anthony Joshua or if he beats Wilder for a third time, a second time, however you want to look at it, then beats Anthony Joshua. He doesn't have anything more to prove. Would you agree with that?
I don't think he's got anything to prove now. He's the number one heavyweight. He was the lineal champion. The belts that Anthony Joshua holds, he did not beat Tyson Fury for them. He beat Charles Martin. That's who he beat. The man who held those belts and was the second longest reigning heavyweight champion of all time was Klitschko, and Tyson took him to school, beat him. Tyson then went off to the States and beat the biggest punching heavyweight in my opinion, the last 30 years or so. And statistically, apparently the hardest punching heavyweight ever, according to statistics, and done a job on him. So he's done everything. He's the number one heavyweight of his generation, no doubt about that. But it's not just about achieving; it's about what makes him feel good. You know, and he likes, you know, and I only speak from the conversation I had with him. He loves training. He loves a challenge. He loves to be involved in the fight business, and he's very enthusiastic towards it. And he's in a good place at the moment. So if boxing keeps him in a good place, that's better than any records or anything. That's about him feeling his well-being. And as long as he's fit, healthy, physically healthy, mentally and well to box, then why shouldn't he? But if he doesn't want to do it, God bless him, he's done everything. Nobody can take away what he's done. If, God forbid, he even got beaten in his next fight, you can't take away what he's done. He's beat the best out there. Not old guys on the way out. You know, when he beat Klitschko was not he went in there as an underdog. Klitschko was the man. You know, by the time Klitschko fought Anthony Joshua, it was 18 months after Tyson took him to school. And they had a brilliant fight, but it was life and death. The pair of them, there was nothing in it, to and fro. And if Klitschko maybe weren't such an old guy when he had AJ on the floor, he maybe have finished the fight. So Tyson beat a better Klitschko than AJ did, no doubt about that. And when he beat Wilder, and in my opinion, one, he definitely beat him once, and the second one, the first fight, he beat him. He beat the guy who was the best. And in both those fights, I would say 99% of all journalists said he was going to get knocked out.
What a journalist know, eh, Frank?
He to me has nothing to prove with anything. Sorry, say again?
I said, what a journalist know, eh?
You said it.
From one fight in Fury to another, one person who I didn't expect to see in the headlines talking about a fight is Big John. Now, Big John Fury doesn't strike me as somebody that I would like to mess with, yet somebody has called him out. Now, I know that you have a history with kind of the unlicensed scene, and obviously your second cousin, I believe, Lenny McLean, who actually used to work with Mickey Theo, who's the man who's calling out John Fury. Just your thoughts on that, Frank? That one took me by surprise.
Mickey who?
Mickey Theo.
I don't know. No, listen, look, you know, when you say I was involved, when I was involved, I was very young. I was about 23 years of age back then. So that's a long, long time ago, 45 years ago, in fact. So, you know, I was involved in that. Well, I actually promoted them, so I know what it was. And the bottom line was that I didn't know any different then. You know, I didn't know about health and safety of the sport as such. I was stupid, but we had doctors in attendance, but I didn't, you know, there weren't in those days, there was no MRI scans, there were no skull x-rays that came in before the MRI scans, there was none of that, just a medical, and then they would fight. That's the boxing border control side of it. And as far as what I did over a period of time, we formed an organisation called the National Boxing Council. We got a medical officer on board. We did similar testing to what the boxing border control had back in those days. We did all of that. But, you know, at the end, I knew that if I wanted to promote and do bigger and better things, I knew that I'd have to accept the offer that I'd got from the border control to take out a licence, which is what I did. Do I think Big John should be fighting? No, I don't. I like John. I've got a tremendous time for him, a tremendous respect for John. we've got a good relationship, but he's well over 21, as we know. And if he wants to fight this other guy who understands well over 21 and they want to get it on and they're raising money for charity, then God bless, as long as they're safe and well. But I don't prefer to see people who are in their mid-50s fighting. Leave it to the young guys. But that's up to them. That's called democracy.
Now, you would have met some interesting people along your journey in this funny old sport of boxing. John Fury, I would imagine, ranks pretty high on the 50-year-old men who I wouldn't like to fight. What do you think?
What, you would like to fight him on your list? Oh, well, I'm sure you would want to fight him. Why would you want to fight him?
I can't see why anyone would want to fight him, is what I'm saying.
John is I promoted John. He fought on my. I'm sure he fought on a couple of my. Well, I know he did fought on a couple of my shows. John's he's a very fit man, isn't he? He still trains hard, and they're a fighting family. That's what they are. The Furies, they're a fighting family. But if you want to make that, I'll tell you what I would promote. If you want to fight him for charity, I'll put that on.
I thought you liked me, Frank.
He wants to fight one of you internet mob. I'll put one of them on. Don't worry about that.
Oh, cheers, Frank. Nice one.